Negative thoughts are the invisible chains that hold millions of people back every single day. They're the quiet whispers that say you're not good enough, the mental poison that drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and keeps you stuck in fear, anxiety, and regret. But what if I told you those thoughts aren't real problems? They're just untrained habits of the mind. And what if the ancient Stoics had already solved this thousands of years ago? Welcome to Stoic Mastery, where we take timeless Stoic philosophy and turn it into powerful mental training for modern life. In this video, you're going to learn exactly how to destroy negative thoughts, not by suppressing them or pretending they don't exist, but by understanding, dismantling, and defeating them at their root. And here's the twist. We're not talking about Marcus Aurelius this time. Instead, we're diving into the lesser-known yet profoundly practical wisdom of other Stoic giants like Epictetus, Seneca, Zeno, Musonius Rufus, Cleanthes, and Hierocles, men who turned suffering into strength and chaos into calm. Their lessons are raw, simple, and shockingly relevant, especially if you want real peace of mind. So if you've ever found yourself trapped in overthinking, if negative self-talk is sabotaging your potential, if you're tired of being a prisoner to your own thoughts, stick with me. By the end of this video, you won't just cope with negative thinking, you'll destroy it like a true Stoic.
Lesson 1. Epictetus. You are not your thoughts.
One of the most powerful insights from Epictetus is this: you are not your thoughts. Born into slavery and later rising as one of the most respected Stoic teachers, Epictetus didn't teach from a place of comfort, he taught from lived hardship. And yet he maintained a calm, sharp mind. How? Because he deeply understood the separation between what happens in your mind and who you truly are. He said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." That single line is a Stoic grenade to negative thinking. Most people believe that their thoughts reflect reality. If you think, "I'm a failure," it feels like truth. If your mind says, "They don't like me," your emotions react as if it's already confirmed. But Epictetus challenges this completely. He teaches us that our judgment, our opinion, is the root of our suffering, not the external event or even the thought itself. Let's break that down. If someone criticizes you, the event itself is neutral. Your emotional response depends on the meaning you assign to it. Is it an attack or a chance to grow? Is it rejection or redirection? That inner interpretation creates either suffering or strength. So what's the Stoic solution? Step 1. Become the observer. When a negative thought arises, don't attach to it. Don't wrestle with it. Just observe it. That's insecurity. That's fear talking. That's not me. Step 2. Question it. Ask, is this useful? Is it true? Would Epictetus or a wise person dwell on this? Step 3. Replace it. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about training perception. Replace self-pity with gratitude. Replace fear with preparation. Replace why me with what can I control. The more you do this, the more space you create between you and your thoughts. And in that space, freedom lives. You are not your emotions. You are not your inner critic. You are the one who notices, evaluates, and chooses. When you grasp this, negative thoughts lose their grip. They may still come, but they no longer control you. And that's what Epictetus calls real power, the power of self-governance.
Lesson 2. Seneca. Premeditation on adversity. Premeditatio malorum.
Imagine waking up every day expecting life to go smoothly, only to be shocked when someone cuts you off in traffic, your plans get delayed, or bad news lands in your inbox. That emotional shock is often what triggers a cascade of negative thoughts: anger, anxiety, frustration, and self-doubt. Seneca, one of the most practical Stoics, had a solution for this. He called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. In simple terms, this practice is about visualizing potential setbacks before they happen, not to become fearful, but to become prepared. Seneca taught that much of our suffering comes from surprise, when we expect ease and instead get hardship. He wrote, "The wise man thinks of everything that can happen as something that will happen." Now, this might sound pessimistic, but it's actually the opposite. It's mental armor. When you anticipate difficulty, you don't fear it, you neutralize it. Let's say you have an important meeting tomorrow. Rather than hoping everything goes perfectly, a Stoic would spend a few minutes calmly visualizing things going wrong. The tech fails. Someone challenges your idea. You stumble over your words. Why do this? Because when you mentally rehearse these possibilities, you rob them of their emotional sting. If they happen, you've already been there in your mind. If they don't, even better, you're ahead. This practice is also a powerful tool against negative thinking. Why? Because when life throws a challenge your way, you'll recognize it not as a catastrophe, but as something you trained for. You won't spiral into, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, you'll calmly respond with, "I expected this, and I know what to do." Seneca believed that foreseeing misfortune isn't inviting it, but mastering your response to it. So make this a daily practice. Before starting your day, close your eyes for a moment and ask, "What might go wrong today? How can I respond with calm and courage? What would a Stoic do in that moment?" You'll find your mental reactions soften, negative thoughts shrink, and you begin to walk through life not as a victim of events, but as someone trained for life's storms. That's the Stoic edge.
Lesson 3. Cleanthes. Flow with nature, not against it.
Cleanthes, the second head of the Stoic school after Zeno, offered a profound idea that can dismantle negative thoughts at their source. Live in accordance with nature. At first glance, that may sound poetic or vague. But in Stoicism, nature doesn't just mean trees and rivers. It means the natural order of life. Things change, people disappoint, plans fall apart, pain and loss are inevitable. Cleanthes taught that much of our suffering comes not from these events themselves, but from resisting them. Negative thoughts often appear when reality doesn't match our expectations. You wanted peace, but got chaos. You hoped for praise and received silence. You made plans and life said, "Not today." And in that gap between what you wanted and what is, frustration grows. That frustration becomes inner dialogue like, "This shouldn't be happening. Why me?" Or, "I can't deal with this." Cleanthes would say, that's where the problem begins. It's not the event, it's your resistance to the event. He famously wrote a hymn to Zeus saying, "Lead me, Zeus, and you, destiny, wherever your decrees have assigned me. I will follow willingly. But even if I do not wish to, because I am cowardly, I will still follow." This is radical acceptance, not passive surrender, but wise cooperation. When you align your mind with what is, you no longer burn energy fighting what you can't change. You become like water, able to flow around obstacles, instead of trying to smash through them. Ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? What would happen if I let go of that resistance? You'll find many of your negative thoughts begin to dissolve, not because you forced them away, but because you're no longer feeding them with inner conflict. Living in accordance with nature is about trusting the process of life. Trust that challenges are part of your growth, that pain has its season, that what happens, happens for you, not against you. When you stop resisting reality, peace returns. And from that place, you can act with wisdom, not reactivity. Cleanthes' wisdom reminds us, the more we fight life, the more we suffer. But when we flow with it, negative thoughts lose their power.
Lesson 4. Epictetus. Detach from what you don't control.
One of the most powerful teachings from Epictetus is also one of the simplest. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. This idea is the backbone of Stoic peace. When negative thoughts flood your mind, chances are they're tied to things you can't control. Other people's actions, the past, the future, or random events. You worry about what someone might say, stress over whether something will go your way, or replay a mistake over and over. But none of that is in your hands. And here's the Stoic truth. Trying to control the uncontrollable is the fastest way to mental suffering. Epictetus didn't tell us to be passive. He told us to be precise. You control your thoughts, your actions, your choices, and your responses. Everything else, outcomes, opinions, timing, external events, is outside your control and not your responsibility. When you finally accept this, you can begin to destroy negative thinking at the source. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Inside it are your judgments and choices. Outside is the chaos of life. You can't stop the storms, but you can build walls of clarity that keep the storms out. Let's say you're stressed about a job interview. The Stoic doesn't try to predict what the interviewer will ask or whether they'll like them. That's out of their control. Instead, the focus is on preparation, presence, and attitude. Worry becomes action. Stress becomes discipline. When you shift focus to what's actually yours to control, negative thoughts lose their grip. This is the essence of freedom, according to Epictetus. You're not free when everything goes your way. You're free when your peace no longer depends on it. So the next time you feel anxiety creeping in, stop and ask, is this mine to control? If the answer is no, drop it. If yes, do something about it. That simple shift in attention can transform your entire inner world.
Lesson 5. Musonius Rufus. Train the mind like the body.
Musonius Rufus, often called the Roman Socrates, was one of the most practical Stoic philosophers, and a powerful voice in teaching that philosophy must be practiced, not just discussed. When it comes to destroying negative thoughts, he believed that mental discipline works the same way as physical discipline. You train it. Musonius taught that just as your body becomes stronger with resistance, through lifting, running, or physical labor, your mind becomes stronger through challenges, discomfort, and repetition. The mind, like the body, doesn't automatically become resilient. It has to be exercised. Negative thinking isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your mental muscles haven't been trained properly. But that can change. He wrote, "Practice is more important than theory. We become just by performing just actions, temperate by performing temperate actions, brave by performing brave actions." So how do you apply this to your inner dialogue? By refusing to let negative thoughts run wild. Instead, when they arise, you confront them like a workout. You redirect them. You replace them. You repeat the Stoic principles, even when your emotions resist, especially when they resist. For example, if your mind tells you, "I'm not good enough," don't argue with it. Replace it with a trained Stoic response. That's just a thought. I choose action over fear. If your mind says, "This always happens to me," train it to respond, "Obstacles are my training ground. I grow stronger through them." Each time you respond this way, you build mental strength, just like doing reps in the gym. Musonius didn't just talk about controlling thoughts, he lived it. He was exiled multiple times and still remained calm, composed, and focused. Because he practiced, he trained, he lived his philosophy daily. If you want to destroy negative thoughts, don't wait for the perfect mindset to appear. Build it. Every moment you catch a negative thought and choose a better one, you're training your inner Stoic. And with daily practice, your mind will begin to default to strength instead of fear, to wisdom instead of worry. Musonius reminds us that resilience is not a gift. It's a skill, and like any skill, it grows with use. So treat your thoughts like your muscles. Challenge them, train them, and they will serve you with power.
Lesson 6. Hierocles. Expand your circle of concern.
Hierocles, a lesser-known Stoic philosopher, offered a deeply human insight into mental peace and emotional resilience. You destroy negative thoughts by expanding your concern beyond yourself. He introduced the concept of concentric circles of identity, a Stoic mental model that can completely change how you experience the world. At the center of the circles is you. The next ring includes your family, then your friends, then your community, your city, your nation, and eventually all of humanity. Hierocles taught that we should constantly work to pull those outer circles closer, to feel more connected with others, more united, more engaged. Why? Because many of our negative thoughts stem from isolation, from becoming so focused on ourselves, our problems, and our feelings that we lose perspective. When your entire mental world revolves around me, it's easy to fall into spirals. Why is this happening to me? What if I fail? What do they think about me? These thoughts shrink your world, and the smaller your world gets, the louder your mind becomes. But when you shift your attention outward, to others, to service, to compassion, your problems don't disappear, but their grip loosens. You start to think, how can I be helpful today? Or, what does someone else need right now? This shift brings meaning, connection, and most importantly, perspective. Think of the last time you were lost in negative thoughts. Now imagine someone you care about needed your help at that exact moment. You would drop the mental noise in a heartbeat to be there for them. That's the power of expanding your concern. Hierocles believed that by practicing this mentally, reminding ourselves daily that we are part of a larger human family, we reduce ego, dissolve loneliness, and destroy the obsessive self-focus that breeds negative thinking. So when you feel the storm coming, step outside your own mind. Reach out. Help someone. Think bigger. You're not just a person with problems. You're a human among humans, a part of something larger. And from that expanded place, negative thoughts shrink naturally, as Hierocles showed us, when you stop making.
Lesson 7. Seneca. You suffer more in imagination than in reality.
One of Seneca's most powerful observations is also one of the most overlooked truths about negative thinking. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." In other words, most of our emotional pain doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from what we think might happen. Our minds create entire dramas based on assumptions, future fears, or imagined insults. And those imagined scenarios trigger real emotions, stress, anxiety, dread, even though the event hasn't happened, and often never will. Think about how often you've replayed a conversation in your head that already ended, or how you've worried about an outcome days, or even weeks before it came, only to find that it wasn't nearly as bad as you feared. That's suffering twice, once in thought and again in reality, if it even happens at all. Seneca's teaching is a mental shield against this self-inflicted pain. When a negative thought enters your mind, especially one based on fear or what if, pause and ask yourself, is this happening right now, or am I imagining it? Most of the time you'll find it's your imagination running the show. This isn't to say preparation is wrong. The Stoics encouraged us to prepare for adversity, but there's a difference between rational planning and emotional rumination. One strengthens your mind, the other drains it. To practice Seneca's lesson, start noticing when your mind starts wandering into imaginary fears. Label those thoughts. This is just imagination. It's not reality. Then bring yourself back to the present moment, the only place where real action and real peace exist. You can also write down the negative thoughts you're imagining and ask yourself, what proof do I have that this will happen? What is the worst-case outcome and can I handle it? What can I do right now? You'll often find the imagined fear dissolves under the light of logic. Seneca reminds us, life is hard enough. Don't make it harder by living in imagined pain. Destroy negative thoughts by keeping your mind grounded in what's real, not what's feared. When you do that, your imagination becomes a tool for clarity, not a weapon against yourself. Lesson 8. Epictetus. Don't speak negatively even in your mind. Epictetus was a master of mental discipline, and one of his most underrated teachings is this: your inner dialogue shapes your outer reality. In other words, what you say to yourself, even silently in your mind, can either poison your life or purify it. He warned, avoid speaking even in jest of yourself as weak or unhappy. This might seem trivial. After all, what harm could a little self-deprecating joke or casual complaint do? But Epictetus knew that every word reinforces a belief, and repeated beliefs become your mindset. If you constantly think or say things like, "I'm always messing up, nothing ever works out for me," or "I can't do this," you're not just describing reality, you're creating it. The Stoics believed that language is not neutral. Words are tools of perception, and perception determines emotion. If you narrate your life as if you're a victim, your brain will feel like one. If you focus your internal speech on lack, failure, or fear, negative thoughts will multiply because you're feeding them with your own voice. The solution isn't toxic positivity. Epictetus didn't tell us to lie to ourselves or pretend everything is fine. He told us to speak truth with strength, to affirm what we can control, and to reject the habit of helplessness. Instead of saying, "This always happens to me," say, "This is a challenge, and I'll face it." Instead of, "I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm learning, and I'll improve." These are not empty affirmations. They're Stoic reminders that your attitude is a choice, and your words are the tools to shape it. Try this for a day. Monitor your self-talk. Every time you catch a negative phrase, pause. Reframe it with courage, truth, or gratitude. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. Your inner voice becomes your inner ally, not your enemy. Epictetus believed that mastering your speech, even the speech no one hears, is a path to mastering your mind. Because when you control the narrative inside, the world outside loses much of its power to disturb you. So speak like a Stoic, internally and externally. Speak with strength, clarity, and purpose, and negative thoughts will no longer find a home in your mind. Lesson 9. Cleanthes. Endurance is strength. Cleanthes, one of the early leaders of the Stoic school, taught a lesson that cuts deep into the heart of negative thinking. Real strength lies in endurance, not in aggression or control. This may seem counterintuitive, especially in a world that glorifies domination and winning at all costs. But for the Stoics, endurance wasn't weakness, it was power under control. Negative thoughts often emerge the moment we encounter discomfort. Whether it's emotional pain, rejection, failure, or physical hardship, our first instinct is to resist, complain, or escape. We think, "This is too much," or "I can't take this." But Cleanthes challenged this mindset. He believed that endurance was not just a reaction to pain, it was a chosen response, one that strengthens your character and purifies your thinking. He famously said, "Lead me, Zeus and destiny, to the goal I was long ago assigned. I will follow willingly. If I resist, I will come anyway, dragged along." This is the Stoic mindset. Choose to endure, and you gain dignity. Resist reality, and you still endure it, but with suffering instead of strength. When you embrace endurance, you stop feeding negative thoughts like, "Why me?" and "This isn't fair." Instead, you shift to, "This is my path. Let me walk it with courage." You start seeing trials not as punishments but as proving grounds, and that mindset changes everything. Cleanthes believed that life's difficulties are like weights in a gym. The heavier the weight, the stronger you become, if you lift it intentionally. Endurance trains the mind to stay calm under pressure, to remain rational during chaos, and to stay grounded when emotions want to take over. To practice this, start small. When something uncomfortable arises, waiting in traffic, a rude comment, a stressful moment, don't react automatically. Pause, breathe, endure it with calm. Remind yourself, "This is the test, and I'm ready." The more you practice endurance, the less room there is for negativity. Because your mind learns, you can handle this. And once you truly believe that, negative thoughts lose their power. As Cleanthes teaches, you don't need to escape hardship, you need to endure it like a philosopher. That's the strength that never breaks. Lesson 10. Musonius Rufus. Live simply to think clearly. Musonius Rufus was not only a Stoic philosopher but also a teacher who lived what he preached. One of his most important teachings for destroying negative thoughts was beautifully practical. Live simply to think clearly. We often assume that negative thoughts are purely emotional or psychological problems. But Musonius understood something deeper. Your lifestyle affects your mindset. When your life is cluttered with excess, too much food, too much stimulation, too much distraction, your thoughts become cloudy, your desires confused, and your emotions more volatile. He believed that simplicity creates space for clarity. That doesn't mean you have to give up all your possessions or live like a monk. It means you should strip away what doesn't serve your values, because every layer of unnecessary complexity adds stress, noise, and pressure that feeds negative thinking. Take something as basic as food. Musonius taught that eating simple, nourishing meals not only strengthens the body, but also strengthens the mind. Overindulgence, on the other hand, leads to laziness, guilt, and distraction. The same goes for social media, entertainment, gossip, and the constant chase for more. These things fill your mind with superficial concerns and pull you away from what really matters. When you simplify your life, you reduce the number of external forces pulling on your mind. That creates space for reflection, presence, and purpose. Your energy becomes focused, your thoughts become cleaner, and suddenly the inner chaos starts to quiet down. Not because you forced it to, but because you removed its fuel. Musonius encouraged daily habits that align with your values. Waking early, eating modestly, speaking with intention, and choosing activities that nourish your character. These aren't restrictions, they're tools for freedom. And when your actions support your values, your mind no longer needs to fight itself. So take inventory. What in your life is adding noise without adding meaning? What can you remove or reduce, physically, mentally, or emotionally, that would create more peace? Living simply isn't just about having less. It's about making room for more of what matters: wisdom, peace, discipline, and clarity. As Musonius Rufus taught, when you quiet the outside world, you begin to hear your inner Stoic voice. And that voice is the one that destroys negative thoughts before they ever take root. Lesson 11. Epictetus. Values first, emotions second. Epictetus taught that a Stoic must always begin with one question: what kind of person do I want to be? Not how do I feel, or what do I want right now, but what principles will I live by, no matter what? This mindset shifts everything, because most negative thoughts are born when we let emotions lead and values follow. You feel hurt, so you think of revenge. You feel anxious, so you spiral. You feel insulted, so you attack back. But Epictetus believed that if we train ourselves to act by values first, emotions lose their power to control us. He taught that feelings are natural, but they should never be in charge. In his words, it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And those judgments are often shaped by the emotions we let go unchecked. Let's say someone criticizes you. Emotionally, you may feel defensive or ashamed, but if your core value is growth, your response shifts. You say, "What can I learn from this?" Or if your value is patience, you remain calm rather than lashing out. That small shift, values before emotion, destroys the mental loops that keep you stuck. Epictetus didn't believe in repressing emotions. He believed in retraining your response to them. And that training begins by defining your guiding values: wisdom, courage, justice, self-discipline. Then, in every challenge or thought spiral, you ask, is this thought or action aligned with my values? If it is, move forward. If it's not, drop it. This isn't always easy, but the more you practice it, the more you build what Epictetus called prohairesis, the faculty of moral choice. That's your inner compass, the thing no one can take from you, not circumstances, not critics, not failure. So when your mind is flooded with negativity, don't try to control the storm. Focus on the compass. Who are you choosing to be right now? What would someone brave, just, or wise do here? That answer will cut through fear, doubt, and confusion. Because when values lead, emotions follow. And when your thoughts serve something greater than comfort, they become tools, not traps. Let your principles lead the way, and watch your negative thoughts fall behind. Lesson 12. Seneca. The present is all you own. Seneca, one of the most eloquent voices of Stoic philosophy, often reminded his readers of a simple but profound truth. You only ever own the present moment. Past regrets and future worries, those are the fuel of negative thinking, and yet neither of them exist. The past is untouchable. The future is unknowable. The only reality you can act within is now. He wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Seneca observed that most people live in a mental fog. They obsess over what has already happened or what might happen next. This pulls their attention away from where life is actually happening, in the current moment. And when your mind is divided between timelines, negative thoughts multiply. Regret drags you back. Anxiety pushes you forward. But clarity only exists here. Negative thoughts often start with what if? What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I never succeed? Seneca teaches that by grounding yourself in the present, you cut the cord that connects you to that kind of mental torture. When your attention is fully in the moment, your breath, your body, your actions, those looping thoughts lose their power. So how do you practice this? Start by noticing when your mind leaves the present. When you catch yourself replaying a past mistake or predicting disaster, pause. Ask yourself, is this useful or is this just noise? Then bring your focus back to what's in front of you, to what you can do now, to the choice in your hands. Seneca also recommended daily reflection, not as a way to dwell on mistakes, but to notice how you spent your time and how you want to improve tomorrow. This brings clarity without shame, another way to anchor the mind in purposeful awareness. He believed time was our most valuable possession, and yet we often treat it as endless. We waste the present moment worrying about moments we may never reach. That's the great tragedy. But the Stoic flips the script. You reclaim your peace by fully inhabiting now. That's where your actions happen. That's where virtue is practiced. That's where negative thoughts have no room to grow. As Seneca taught, live now. Everything else is just memory or imagination, and neither deserve to own your mind. Lesson 13. Zeno of Citium. Self-mastery is true freedom. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, believed that the highest form of human freedom is not political, financial, or social. It is self-mastery. To Zeno, a free person is someone who is not a slave to their desires, emotions, or negative thoughts. And that idea still carries life-changing power today. Most people think they're free because they can do what they want. But if your mood depends on how others treat you, if you're controlled by your cravings, or if you're constantly reacting to negative thoughts, you're not free. You're enslaved by your own mind. Zeno taught that true freedom begins when you rule over yourself. When your reason, the rational part of your mind, leads your life instead of emotions or impulses. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means choosing your actions based on virtue and clarity, rather than letting feelings drag you around like a leaf in the wind. When a negative thought appears, someone without self-mastery reacts automatically. They panic, overthink, lash out, or spiral. But someone trained in Zeno's philosophy notices the thought, examines it, and decides what response aligns with their principles. That's self-mastery, and it's what Stoicism is built on. Zeno's path to this mastery was discipline and simplicity. He believed the mind becomes clear when life becomes focused. He encouraged aligning every choice with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And through that alignment, you develop an unshakable identity. To practice this lesson, don't ask, "How do I feel?" Ask, "What does the wise version of me choose right now?" That question destroys negative thoughts, because it shifts your focus from emotion to action, from passivity to power. Self-mastery means choosing calm over reaction, discipline over desire, focus over distraction. When that becomes your habit, negative thoughts no longer control you. Because you've taken control of yourself. Zeno's vision was simple. The free person is the one who governs their own soul. No one can take that from you. Not your past, not your circumstances, not your fears. So if you want to destroy negative thinking, start by mastering the one thing that's always within reach: yourself. That's where your freedom lives. And that's how a Stoic wins. Not by conquering the world, but by conquering the mind. You've just learned 13 powerful Stoic lessons, each one designed to help you destroy negative thoughts, not by running from them, but by confronting them with wisdom. These weren't just abstract ideas, they were battle-tested principles from some of history's most resilient minds: Epictetus, Seneca, Cleanthes, Musonius Rufus, Zeno, and Hierocles. Each of them faced hardship, exile, poverty, even slavery. And yet, they found a way to remain mentally unshaken. How? Because they trained their minds like warriors train their bodies. They didn't let emotions lead. They let values lead. They didn't seek comfort. They sought clarity. And they didn't waste time on what they couldn't control. They focused only on what was theirs to govern. That same path is open to you. If you truly want to destroy negative thinking, you must make these Stoic practices part of your daily life. Train your mind to observe instead of react. Anchor yourself in the present instead of getting lost in imaginary fears. Live simply, speak with intention. Let your values, not your emotions, lead the way. And most of all, remember, freedom begins inside. You're not weak for having negative thoughts, but you are powerful enough to overcome them. If this video helped you shift your perspective, let us know in the comments. Which Stoic lesson hit you the hardest? I read every reply, and your thoughts help guide future content. And if you want more ancient wisdom to sharpen your mind and build unbreakable mental strength, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Stoic Mastery community. Until next time, stay grounded, stay rational, and keep training your mind like a Stoic. Your peace is your power. Own it. I will see you in the next video.